You know that thing your phone does? You tap a link for a restaurant and boom, the DoorDash app just opens right up. Or you see a cool product in an email, you tap it, and suddenly you're looking right at it in the Amazon app. It really does feel like magic, right? This seamless little jump from the web straight into an app. But how does this digital magic trick actually work? And maybe more importantly, is it safe?
I mean, think about it. It's something we probably all do dozens of times a day without even a second thought. But have you ever stopped and wondered what's really happening under the hood? How does your phone know to bridge that gap between a simple web link and a very specific screen deep inside an application? Well, the secret sauce here is something called a deep link. You can think of it as a special kind of URL that acts like a signpost. It tells your phone's operating system, hey, hold on, don't open this in a web browser. Send it over to this specific app and take it to this specific page. It's the absolute foundation for a smooth, integrated experience on your phone. But as you're about to see, that convenience came with a pretty serious dark side. To really get what went wrong, we've got to go back to the beginning. The very first version of this tech had a fundamental flaw that was, well, it was almost laughably simple. These early versions were called scheme URLs. So instead of starting with http://, an app developer could just kind of make up their own prefix. Facebook could claim FB//, your bank could claim bank//, and so on. So when you clicked a link with that custom scheme, your phone would just look for any app on your device that had raised its hand and said, yep, I handle those. Simple, right? Yeah, a little too simple. Here's the huge problem. There was absolutely no verification. Any app could register any scheme it wanted. A malicious app could just lie to the operating system and say, oh yeah, me too, I handle FB// links. It's kind of like if anyone could just put a post office sign on their front door and have the mail carrier start delivering your mail to them. This is what we call link hijacking. And this is where it gets genuinely scary. Imagine you think you're topping a link to make a secure transfer in your banking app. The OS might pop up a choice, or worse, if the real app isn't installed, it might just open the malicious one automatically. And that fake app, it looks exactly like your real bank's app. It asks for your password, and just like that, your account is compromised. This was a massive, massive problem. So this was clearly a mess. In 2015, Google wrote in with a brand new solution designed to fix this once and for all. It was called Android App Links, and honestly, on paper, it looked absolutely perfect. The big idea was pretty smart. First, ditch all those custom, made-up schemes like bank/. Instead, just use the standard secure web addresses, the HTTPS links that we all know and trust. But here's the key. They added a critical security check to prove that an app was the true owner of that web domain. And the process seemed totally straightforward. An app would basically declare in its code, hey, I own yourbank.com. Then the Android OS would act like a detective. It would actually go to that website and ask for proof. The server had to show a special digital file. Think of it like a digital passport to prove the app was legit. If everything checked out, the link was secured. Hijackers blocked, problem solved. Or so everyone thought. So fast forward 2 years, a team of security researchers at Virginia Tech decide to see how well this perfect solution was actually working out in the real world. And oh man, what they found was absolutely shocking. It turned out the cure was far, far worse than the disease. Okay, just look at these numbers. The researchers analyzed almost 9,000 Android apps that were using this new, supposedly secure app link system. The results? A complete disaster. A staggering 97.8% of them had failed to implement the verification process correctly. Only 2.2%, just 194 apps out of thousands, were actually secure. The perfect solution was being almost completely ignored. And this is the real kicker, right here in the researchers' own words. They didn't just find that the new system failed to help. No, they found it made the security situation significantly worse. But how is that possible? How could a system that almost nobody was using correctly actually make things more dangerous? Well, it's because standard HTTPS links are everywhere. They are the fabric of the internet. By allowing apps to claim these super common web links without proper verification, Android had accidentally, massively expanded the attack surface. In fact, the study found that the new secure app links were actually being targeted by hijackers almost twice as often as the old insecure scheme URL. And then they discovered this terrifying new flaw. Imagine a malicious app tricks you into setting it as the always open default for just one totally harmless link. Well, that single tap acted like a master key. It gave that app permission to automatically hijack all of its other unverified links, your bank, your PayPal, your social media, without ever asking you again. It was a security catastrophe hiding in plain sight.
For years, this dangerous situation just continued. Developers weren't really motivated to fix their links because, hey, the unverified ones still pretty much worked. But this broken system couldn't last forever. Finally, in 2022, with the release of Android 12, Google decided it was time to bring the hammer down.
The change was actually pretty simple, but totally profound. Verification was no longer a friendly suggestion, it became a hard requirement. From now on, if an app claimed an HTTPS link but couldn't prove it owned the domain, Android would simply ignore the request and open the link in a web browser. The loophole was finally officially closed. And from a developer's point of view, this was a massive deal. I mean, this quote from the DoorDash engineering team says it all. For app makers, this basically meant that if they didn't go back and properly implement the verification they had been ignoring for years, all of their magic links would just break. Period. So when you look at this timeline, it really puts the whole saga into perspective, doesn't it? It took 7 full years, from the introduction of a flawed solution in 2015 through that damning research in 2017 that exposed just how badly it was failing, to finally reach a truly secure system in 2022. It was a long, messy road, and the fix was driven not by proactive design, but by forcing an entire industry to adopt a security practice they had ignored for way too long. And that really leaves us with a fascinating final question, right? The original AppLink system was, in theory, technically secure. But because it was just too easy for developers to ignore, it completely failed in practice and actually made things worse. It's a great reminder that in the real world of security design, the human element, the laziness, the shortcuts, the path of least resistance, is often the most critical variable of all.